Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Pletter, and welcome back to iParent101.com. One of my most popular questions that I get at most of my workshops and most days in my clinical office: when do you get the phone and why? And remembering the why is really important here, in that it's really about connection. Human connections, little humans wanting connection, or kids, and adult humans, big humans, wanting connections through the phone. So the average age in the US is about 10 and a half now, and it's getting younger as far as I can tell. We have to acknowledge that there is no rules, there is no federal or state laws of when we should get our kids' phones. Unlike learning to drive a car, there's very clear, decades-long regulations and rules and laws of how to do it. There's a procedure. That's not the case for handing over these pocket-sized computers that we call phones to our young kids and teenagers. And the fact is that most of our kids have some sort of access, especially coming out of virtual learning through the pandemic, whether it's an iPad, Chromebooks, Xboxes. They have access, almost the same amount of access as if they had a full-on cell phone of their own, a full-on smartphone of their own. So, what does the phone give them but that phone app, which, is important, especially as you become more and more of an adult, of calling home, calling friends, calling your parents, all very important, but less and less used compared to the other aspects of the phone. So that can't really be the reason why our kids want the phone. One reason they want the phone is pure status. It feels good to have your own cell phone, just like it felt good when I was a teenager to have my own car or have car keys in my pocket. There is a status thing that helps us feel connected to getting older and connected to the adult world. In addition to the status, the reality is that the phone gives two different data streams, one through the cell tower and one through the Wi-Fi. And so all those other devices have the Wi-Fi data stream where they could watch YouTube and whatever else they're trying to do, gaming, talking to friends. So it's that second data stream, being able to connect through the cell towers so they have data everywhere they go. So they're connected everywhere they go. That's really why adults want a phone, not just a computer at home. And our children are learning to be future adults. So of course they also want that second data stream so they can be in contact and gaming and connected to the internet everywhere they go. Unlike my first phone, which was literally hanging in my kitchen, and if I wanted to use it, I had to stand in the kitchen or maybe wrap it around into the dining room with a longer cord eventually, if you remember that. But today's phones, it's anything but the phone app is really what our kids are using it for. As I've said many times, we are the first generation of cyborgs. And this is my pocket-sized computer that helps me function, and it helps our kids function. And this is part of our human evolution. And so going back to the decision of when to give our kids phones is really important. And there's many things to consider, but there's a real compromise at play here where we are welcoming our young kids into the digital world, where they're going to have private conversations, some totally appropriate and totally healthy conversations with kids and classmates and other contexts of interest, and then there's the danger of who they might be communicating with. But the phones clearly are portals into this adult world in many, many positive ways and real concerns. So it's really about considering what are the needs for your family. And, if your kid is on the bus and you need to coordinate picking him up, having that phone sooner will be really helpful. But make no mistake that making this decision of when to give the phone is a really complicated and confusing one. And there's a lot of peer pressure that your kids or your teenagers are experiencing, not to be the last one to get a phone. I'm sure you're hearing that. But also on the parent side, it will make your parenting more confusing and more difficult. There's a lot more to manage as you're expanding out into this digital world. having parental controls does not solve this dilemma for most families, but it does allow parents to set limits, which encourages the child to come talk to the parent. And ultimately, that is what we want. The parent-child dialogue, whether it's around learning to drive a car, I have these questions, this happened, I was at a stop sign, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go, or who had the right of way when your teenager is learning to drive. Those kind of questions, that kind of mentoring is what we want to have in place with our young children who are exploring the internet for the first time. For more information, check out iParent101.com.